come together to do the business of Granville County, we ask that you be with us and guide our hearts and our minds, and that our actions are pleasing in your sight. Father, I ask you humbly, Lord, please be in our midst as we come together again as this evening, and we lift you up and save our nation. As our leaders deal with things that are beyond the scope of many humans, please protect our country from the divisiveness and all the challenges, and the ability of our citizens to live the lives pleasing to you, defend the vulnerable and the voiceless, and bring justice to those who have suffered injustice. In all things I name, in Lord Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first we've got our consent agenda. And board members, you've had an opportunity to review this. And what's the pleasure of the board on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second motion.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Wilford, seconded by Commissioner Cozart. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Okay. Our next item will be the introductions, recognitions, and presentations portion of our meeting. And first I'll be asking for our Ms. Karen Evans to come forward. So we've got to appoint the Granville County clerk to the Board of Commissioners. North Carolina General Statutes 153A 111 states that the Board of Commissioners shall appoint or designate a clerk to the board. Due to the upcoming retirement of Deborah A. Weary, the board will need to appoint a clerk to the board. Deputy Clerk Karen Evans will assume the duties once appointed. Ms. Karen Evans has served as deputy clerk since September 2023, and this marks her second tenure with Granville County, having previously worked from 2011 to 2015 as a child support agent with the Department of Social Services. Afterwards, she joined the Cabarrus County Social Services Department and in a similar role. Following her time in Cabarrus County, Ms. Evans transitioned to a new career path as an adult literacy director with Reading Connections in Greensboro. Karen's a native of Oxford and a graduate of South Granville High School. Ms. Evans holds a bachelor's degree in history from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and a certificate in American politics and public affairs from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. She is currently completing her clerk certification training at the UNC School of Government, and Ms. Evans resides in Oxford. I've got a recommendation to appoint Ms. Karen Evans as a clerk to the board. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second motion.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Zlotos J, seconded by Commissioner Tony Cozart. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I will now administer the oath of office for Ms. Karen Evans. And laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as Granville County Clerk to the Board of Commissioners according to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God.
I do.
Do you, Karen Evans, solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government therefore, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God.
I do.
Outstanding. Congratulations. Right. This is the official welcome to Ms. Evans as the clerk of the Board of County Commissioners. And we're going to have an opportunity at our next meeting to talk about how wonderful Deborah Weary is as our clerk to the board. So next thing we've got is
Chair Karen, could I make a brief comment?
Absolutely.
While we're welcoming Ms. Evans to this really incredibly important role, I just wanted to state for the public's benefit, we knew internally what an indispensable and very important role clerk to the board is. They have to respond to all kinds of citizen questions and concerns and comments and make sure they get where they need to be. They're in charge in many respects for the happiness and well-being of 7 elected commissioners, and Deborah has done a wonderful job with that. But we knew that we were looking for a needle in a haystack. It took us 3 recruitments and hiring processes to find the right person, and we knew as soon as we met Karen that she was that person. And so I want to say personally, and I think on behalf of the organization and the board, how happy we are to have Karen on board.
We sure are.
Thank you, Drew. All right, our next item that I'd like to call before us is to hear an update on the Vance Granville Community College, as we know as VGCC. And I see we have the president, Rachel Damaris, with us tonight to give a update on the college. There's a button on the podium, if you'll turn your mic on.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation to be here with you this evening. Let's see, where am I pointing this to? Okay. There we go. So I'd like to just spend the next few minutes talking to you about Vance Granville Community College. There you see a picture of 4 ladies who just graduated a couple of weeks ago from Vance Granville. I want to share first with you some enrollment trends that semester. In the middle there, you can see different colored counties all around. The darkest colored county is Granville County, and that's 927. That's how many of those 2,841 are from Granville County. And so you can see that we have more than just students in our 4-county service area, but the majority of our students now come from Granville County. Every 2 out of 3 attend part-time. Nearly 2 out of 3 students are female, and nearly 3 out of 5 are people of color. We had 518 students graduate in May of this year. All 4 of our early college high schools, we have 1 for each county, they have earned a North Carolina report card grade of A, so we're very proud of those. These are just our fall semesters for credit and continuing education, just another look at that. One thing that we're very proud of is how our students are performing at Vance Granville Community College. On this slide, I have two different lines. The orange line is the community college system as a whole. That's the average. There are 58 community colleges in North Carolina, so we have 57 sister colleges, and that orange line represents student course success. Vance Granville is in that blue-green line there, and as you can see, that Vance Granville has really improved since the 2019-20 year. Beginning in 2019, the college made significant investments in faculty professional development, in particular training our faculty on best practices in teaching adults, including understanding how the brain works and how it learns. We also began to connect our students with resources to help them outside of the classroom, because that's not their only barrier or life is inside the classroom. We provide virtual tutoring appointments, travel assistance to and from class. 2019 was when we began our association with CARTS, of which we're very proud. We became, in 2019, an on-site food pantry for North Central Food Bank affiliate. I think that it's really important to note that we made those amazing gains apart from the average during the pandemic. And so I'm really proud of our faculty and the investments that they made. Student persistence, and I know this is hard to see, but I want to point your eyes over towards those yellow lines. There are 58 dots on that, and this is student persistence. It shows all 58 colleges in North Carolina and represents how well their students make it through their first year without stopping. And as you can see, Vance Granville's in the average band. We're right there in the middle. Of course, we certainly have room for improvement, but as you can see, we are not facing the kind of challenges that some of our sister colleges are facing as well. So definitely an area for improvement for us. Graduation rate is another way in which we look at success. But graduation rate is a really tricky measure. It's calculated by IPEDS, and that stands for Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System. It's not a great measure of community colleges and technical schools because it doesn't take into account students who attend part-time or students who stop, stop, and restart their college journey. It's really better suited for residential four-year colleges and full-time students. But still, as you can see, we are the green line. North Carolina Community College System is the orange line, and we are doing quite well. We had a little dip in 2022, and I realize these are old statistics, but it takes 4 years to calculate these from the time. That's what 200% is of a graduation rate. Those are the most recent available. So 33% of our students do come from Granville County, of our credit students, and 22% of our non-credit or continuing education students are from Granville. And if you look at our students from Granville County, 329, the majority of them are traditional age, which is ages 18 to 24, followed by adult students who are 25 and older, then by early college and college in high school. Theoretically, you can put both early college and high school together, and they actually would make up our largest. We have a lot of young people in high school taking advantage of Career and College Promise, which is a wonderful deal. Students get to take community college credit classes for free. A little bit more about students from Granville County. These are not necessarily students who attend college or Vance Granville in Granville County, but those that are from Granville County. You'll see on the left college credit courses with the highest Granville County student enrollment. They are listed in order of enrollment popularity. College transfer, of course, and pre-nursing being two of our highest. But you can see a broad variety of things that your residents are enrolled in. On the right side are the continuing education courses with high enrollment. You can see we do a lot of EMT, paramedic, fire, rescue for Granville County, as well as adult basic education. You can see some others in there as well. Okay, battery. Whoop. On South Campus, which is in the Butner-Creedmoor area, we have the following programs. I won't read them all to you, but these programs are housed at that site. And 3 of them, radiography, mechatronics, and the Entrepreneurship and Small Business Center, are only housed. That's their only location. We don't have that duplicated anywhere else. Our non-credit things that we have are sustainable agriculture, ESL, small engine repair, culinary, EKG, and nursing assistant. Culinary is housed out of Masonic Home, which we have a partnership with them. We're very excited about you dreaming with us for the past several years and investing in us. I think last time I stood here, I asked you for money, and I appreciate your support, both in that tangible way and in spirit as well, because this dream is becoming a reality. We will be building a 45,000 square foot building with an expansion to a possibility to 60,000 square feet. We'll leverage advanced manufacturing 2.0 and 3.0 in one facility, allowing training of students, the retraining and upskilling of current workers in our service area. And we're also envisioning a college and high school experience for both Granville and Vance County schools. We've already begun conversations with them on how to do this. We're thinking for right now along the lines of 16, 17-year-olds who can get a tangible skill at this location. We've bid the design portion and awarded that contract to Little Diversified Architectural Consulting. We're in the process of gaining approvals and signatures for state construction project assignment. We plan to go before the State Board of Community Colleges in July. They do not have a June meeting, unfortunately, for their approval. And then the state construction office can negotiate a design contract with Little. So we're on our way. Speaking of capital improvements, these are the past 3 capital improvements that have taken place at our South Campus location. In 2020-21, we replaced the HVAC in the central part of that building. It has 3 HVAC units, and we replaced the larger one. And that was funded out of Connect and C bonds from the state, for state money. In 22-23, we did some phase 1A paving improvements, which I'll show you some before and after pictures up here in a moment. And those funds were supplied by Granville County, but they were taken out of our fund balance. We'd had some really good years where we did not have to spend and have any emergency capital projects that needed to be done. And so we were able to take that money with your permission out of that in order to pay for that. And then finally, just this past year, we've done some exterior renovation. It was very much needed, as you will see in the pictures if you haven't been by there prior to that. And again, those were paid for out of state funds, SCIF, State Capital and Infrastructure Funds. So just wanted for you to see the investments that are done there. And so here you see just a few before and after. I apologize, it's hard to get close-ups there, but we definitely had an improvement in some of our paving. Those are, again, don't show well on the screen. You have to get closer up, but there are cracks on the left and where things are coming up. This one is probably a little more demonstrable. We had a very small concrete slab here when the truck would come to pick up the dumpster, and it would crack. And so we made a larger concrete pad this time. We also had, again, your pictures on your, may be a little easier to see, but on the left, if you went to the building, you would see mold down the sides. It had stained inside of the facing on the building. And on the right, we've had that refreshed and cleaned. You can see lots of seals were broken on windows. It just degraded over time. We sealed all the windows, which should be good for our power bills. You can also see that the stucco needed some repair as well. So we're very appreciative of that external renovation. And I thank you for my few minutes to speak with you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Does the board have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question, but Dr. Maris, I just want to say to you publicly how much I appreciate your staff. Over at Smart Start, we have been working diligently trying to help our child care providers return to school. And I just want you to know I appreciate how your team has assisted us in trying to help them along the way. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
Mr. Chair, President, how many of our students that attend there, what's the percentage that go on to four-year institution?
That is a great question. About, let's see, college and high school, we have 40%. It's probably about 40%. I'll get back to you with an accurate and not a guesstimate, but about 40%. The majority of our college and high school students go on to four-year colleges and complete, and right now that's about our entire enrollment of college and high school is 40%.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you for the invitation.
Next, we will hear from the Granville County Search and Recovery. We've got Chief Jimmy Brooks Jr. He'll provide us an update on the Granville County Search and Recovery, also known as the Rescue Squad. The organization provides search and recovery efforts in Granville County. Welcome this evening. And if you will, please, on the podium, there's a button to turn on that microphone.
Gotcha. All right. Good afternoon. Let's see, is that ready? My name is Jim Brooks. I'm the chief of the Granville County Search and Recovery. Along with me is Trent Brummett. He is our secretary treasurer. We are kind of a small organization, but what we do is we're kind of a specialized organization. We go out when bad things happen. We go out for searches, ground search, water search, just anything, a lot of stuff that just doesn't have a good outcome most of the time. Let's see, we're a nonprofit. Anything that we do, there is no money given to us for whatsoever. Let's see, we have relied on county funding for years throughout Creedmoor, Butner, STEM, Oxford, basically to help us get what we need to get. And we have been on a fairly tight budget for the past few years. This is a picture of our squad building. We have a meeting room and a 3-bay garage. It is out, we actually purchased that from the Providence Hunting Club. So that was kind of already a set up place and didn't have to do a whole lot to it. Past couple of years, we haven't had a lot of calls, maybe 2 calls a year. We try to respond to whatever we can. We're there for assistance with anybody that needs it, neighboring counties, anything like that. We have lake search, ground search, missing persons, ponds, anything. We're the only county organization in the county that offers multiple boats for search and recovery as well. This is our meeting room, fairly large. And this is a garage, part of our garage. This is one of our larger boats that we use for bigger bodies of water. And that's our annual expenditures for the year. I totaled those up last night for the year to date. Okay. Right now, year to date, our annual expenditure is $13,559.64. And like I said, we have made the money that we receive work the best we can for us and try to do upgrades the best we can. This is our medium-sized boat, which we are still able to use on smaller bodies of water and the lake. And it does hold about 5 people. Our revenue projected for this year It's 2,227, about $27,000 is what, you know, we usually try to see from anybody if we can. This is our expenditures projected for 2025. Let's see. And I believe that one was $13,559. And the expenditures for last year, I didn't include that we did $12,149 for the payment of our building and land, which we actually paid off May of last year, so that is done. That is free and clear. Oops. This is a list of our board members and our active members. We're currently getting ready to open roster up to accept new members, as we have a lot of members that are getting aged out and actually aren't able to do the searches that we do now. This is some of our equipment. On the left, we've got the backboards, on the spinal boards. On the right there is a underwater camera that we have purchased, and it is transportable from any one of our boats. It's not set up where it has to stay on one type of boat. We can search any body of water with that. On the left there is the drag systems we use for the water. We have recently just acquired a drone. This is the same drone that the Granville County Sheriff's Office uses. So if we're in conjunction with a search with them and they need a battery or we need a battery, we can swap off and keep searching. We don't have to stop and wait for anything to charge. On the left is our Zodiac, which is for, I guess you could say, like creeks. It has been in the lake. Right now, that is getting ready to be replaced as it has weathered to not usable. And then we have our center console and our truck on the right, which is the boat. That boat's for bigger bodies of water, which we have used at the lake. On the left hand is a FLIR units handheld. That is to aid us in searching anybody at night. It will actually forward-looking infrared, and we can sweep around with it to help locate anybody that may be hurt or anybody that's in assistance while we're searching for them. And like I said, that red one, the Zodiac, we're getting ready to retire that. And this is kind of what we used to start with back long ago, is what our equipment used to look like. And that is pretty much it. Has anybody got any questions?
Do any board members have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Appreciate this information.
Appreciate it.
You went over your finances. Do you have a fund balance at this time?
Yes.
Do you mind sharing that with us?
Roughly, it's around 90,000
Okay.
right now. As he said, we did pay off the land at the end of 2002, I believe. It was in October. That was about 13,000 of our funding each year. I believe we received about 24,500 a year from municipalities. So once you add in light bills, stuff like that, our expenditures and our spending was very low. We received a $35,000 grant from the state of North Carolina to be used in any way possible. It could be used for HVAC replacement, well pump, anything type of maintenance. And that was one of the things we used to purchase the drone system. We're also looking at replacing a boat. We have really been on a tight budget. We're carrying a higher fund balance because of that and paying off of the bill, but we are now at a position now that we paid off the land that we can start looking at upgrading some equipment, possibly looking at something maybe even like a side-by-side to be able to get in and get backboard people out. The county did, from the sheriff's office, donated us the expedition we had that we used to pull the boats. It's got over 100,000 miles on it, so we might be looking at something like that. So we've been kind of operating off of slim funds to keep our equipment up for years. So now we're kind of carrying a little bit of a fund balance, but we do need to upgrade some equipment. So that in turn, with the grant, we were sitting at about 20,000 about a year and a half ago. So it's really jumped between the grant and so it does look a little bit elevated, but we want to make sure that we keep everything up to date, and if we need something, that we have it there to operate, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Hammond?
I just want to say thank you. Seeing this now makes me feel a lot safer, knowing that you're there if there's ever an emergency, and hopefully we can have a good outcome instead of a bad outcome. But we do understand that a lot of times it is that bad outcome that we have. But thank you for being there to help with the sheriff's office.
Yes, a few questions, Mr. Brooks. Again, thank you for what you do. Did you say your fund balance was 90,000?
It is now.
And how much of that is the grant?
35.
35 of that? Okay. And do you have a protocol established with the sheriff's office or the municipalities that when there is a missing person, you're actually called and your services are actually utilized? I mean, 2 calls, I'm just looking at 2 calls, an average 2 calls a year.
Right.
It doesn't seem to me like best utilization of services. I don't know why. I'm just asking for the investment that the county's willing to place in that. Is that,
Right.
how do we make that more efficient and utilize the services more?
Well, we have talked about, being able to go out more to help out any way we can. We just need to call, basically. I know a lot of times when searches are done, a lot of times the sheriff's office takes a lot of it. They'll take care of it first, then we're called if it's anything wrong and draw it out. And with the fire department in their area, that anything may have happened. We're kind of called out after the fact.
So one thing I'm very familiar with is duplication of services within government. And so you are unique in regards to the water services, correct?
Water and land, actually. We have, myself and another have actually gone through training for advanced search on land. So,
And any reason why those services aren't being used more often than I mean, I could be wrong, but I
Right.
see that we have a number of missing person calls come out often. Are we,
Right.
so any conversation working with the other agencies?
I would love to see us used more. I would love to see our services utilized a lot more.
And are all the agencies aware of your
Yes.
capabilities?
Yes.
And you've gone to talk to them and so forth and communicated with them?
Yeah, they already know.
Okay. You have an agreement, I understand, talked to the county manager today and asked him, and he looked into it. Any reason why we don't have an agreement with you in regards to the resources that you have?
That I don't know. I do not know.
So one of the recommendations I have, county manager, is that we have an agreement with them in regards to the services and property of that nature. It's tax funded, even though it's tax funded by a variety of municipalities. I think it's important that there is a mechanism in there where the taxpayers are beholding of those properties. Can you add anything to that?
Just that I have spoken a number of times with the county attorney. Any nonprofit funding that the county has should be accompanied with a service contract. It might be a fairly basic one. So I think all of the nonprofits that the county funds can look forward to having a simple contract with the county that spells out the services that the county will get in exchange for the funding they receive.
I'm thankful for your services. I just want to make sure we're maximizing the use of them with what's being provided.
Right.
And that there's a means for county accountability for the tax funds expended. So, but thank you for I sincerely thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes, sir.
the $13,000 figure, is that year-to-date expenses?
year-to-date?
That's basically half year.
That's based on right now,
So
a week ago when this PowerPoint was made.
You projecting, what, 27,000 for the total year?
Well, we're not really sure on boat costs right now. We're still pricing that out and everything, but I think we did get a price roughly about $7,000 to replace the Zodiac boat. We're also looking at an aluminum-based boat where 2 people could carry it. I know Sheriff Fallon will be one to tell you that when the missing person in Antioch went, we were able to go drag all the ponds in the area and to make sure that that victim hadn't drowned or anything like that. So we were able to go search for them. So Not all the time are the missing persons escalated to us to begin with. It usually takes it to get to a little bit higher level to find out what's exactly going on before it is. But we are dispatched, I will tell you, through the communications to certain things automatically. So we will be dispatched to certain things, and could be a car in a lake or anything like that. That's going to be an automatic dispatch. But missing persons and things like that, we kind of rely on the agency to ask for our assistance.
Well, what I was getting at with the revenue is, you know, it shows you got like 24,500 coming in, not counting donations. And it looks like your annual expenses are normal annual expenses are about 27. Is that correct? Is it
Roughly, yes, sir.
roughly that? So you don't get enough to, as it is, you have to rely on donations or fund balance.
That's correct. And it was that way until we just recently paid off the land at the end of 2022, and then we got that grant, which was the first we've received in a long time. So we kind of kept that for repairs and maintenance and stuff, so.
Yeah, that's one-time money. You got to spend it wisely.
Right, exactly. So, and they track that, and we have to make sure we are spending that because they can go back so many years. So we want to make sure we're using that on the correct thing.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys work on a razor-thin budget, and if it wasn't for donations, you wouldn't have the funds available. You'd have to rely on fund balance for your basic
That's correct. And
needs, not your capital needs such as a new boat or.
And I think that's why we've been so frugal over the years, and the county's been so gracious to donate us things like vehicles and things. You know, we've been a little frugal because of that. So now it's time for us to replace these things and make sure that it's there when we need it. So, not that we haven't, you know, our equipment is operational working, but it also needs regular upkeep and maintenance and replacement. So.
Okay, thank you.
I got one more question. Mr. Brooks, I'm sorry, one more question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned you had certified land searches. People. Do you have any divers that are, or do you, I know I saw the dragging equipment.
Right.
But do you have divers that are certified?
We have one diver that I believe is certified, but he is certified on his own.
Okay,
It's not through the organization.
okay.
We do have some dive equipment there. I don't know how old it is. It's probably way out of date.
Would that be something that would be, could possibly looked into to have one or two or three?
I believe we could find enough interest in it to,
Okay,
with any members there that would maybe want to try it.
okay. Thank you. Appreciate what you do.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much for coming out this evening and giving us a presentation.
right, thank you,
Appreciate what you
Travis.
do for us. All right, our next item will be public comment, and we've got a list of folks that have signed up. And remember, we've got 3 minutes to speak. There is a timer that'll be on the TV. We'll indicate also with a card when you hold it up. When you see the card come up, please be cognizant of the screen. There's a wheel that will turn red as your time is expiring in your last 30 seconds. So the first person that we've got scheduled to speak this evening is Dawn Whitlock. Whitelock, sorry. And if you will, please state your name and address for the record as you come forward.
Yes, how y'all this evening? My name is Dawn Whitelock. I'm at 420 Kingsbury Street here in Oxford, and I'm here with Down Home, North Carolina, with our Expand Carts campaign. And my lovely assistant and I have a visual presentation for you. What this represents, well, what this is close to 500 names of people that have signed a petition to expand carts. And what these names represent is the want and the need for this service in and around town. And this is why we're asking for money. This right here is why we are asking for money. Do I need to say it again? Okay, yes. actually at the Butner Summerfest on Saturday. I had people from the VA hospital come up and say, yes, we need this. I had people from Vance Granville come up, an academic advisor, and said it would be great to expand it. We could increase our enrollment. So I would just like to see it happen, how we can make it work. I think when I get this done, this is all I have for you this evening.
Thank you. Next, we'll have David Sella. And if you will, sir, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, County Manager, Commissioners. My name is David Sella, Captain, U.S. Coast Guard, retired. I live at 1622 Enon Road. And I rise this evening to applaud you all for your work on behalf of Granville County residents. You're to be commended for all your work that you do for all of us residents. Many of us realize how much hard work you do that goes unnoticed and unappreciated. But I stand before you to tell you that your work on the issues recently surrounding the issues on Enon Road, as well as the countless other issues, are both noticed and genuinely appreciated. Now, since we have every reason to believe that this issue is not over, and we thank you all in advance for your continuing vigilance on that issue. I also know that one of tonight's meeting items is to discuss the county's budget. We are all aware of the difficulties surrounding our own personal budgets in light of all the inflation wherever we go, to the grocery store, et cetera. I recognize that you guys face the same challenges at the county level, and that difficulty to maintain levels of service that we expect, that you want to deliver. So I thank you for your commitment to the budget process. So I do stand to thank you and appreciate your hard work for the public health, safety, and the general welfare of this great county we live in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Rakesh Patel.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Rakesh Patel. I live in Durham, North Carolina, but I work at Central Regional Hospital for the last 15 years, and I spend every Sunday night in the county taking care of the patients overnight. I stand before you to once again request that you support our CARTS campaign and increase the funding for this. We've had a lot of conversations over the last 6 weeks at multiple events, including the Butner Wine Festival, the Cultural Festival, the Oxford Wine and Cultural Festival, and the Butner Summer Festival this weekend. We've met dozens, if not hundreds of people who are very excited about the idea of public transportation being expanded, and especially the CARTS program. We highlighted that the drivers get paid roughly $12 an hour, and that would be kind of a difficult job to undertake. We've spoken to some of the drivers, and frankly, I think they do it for the love. They love the folks that are serving, and some of them obviously would appreciate more money, but I think they would still continue to do this. But we think that CARTS is a great program. More people would use it if there were more drivers available. And I think that, like, in your one of the things we think about in transportation as a doctor is obviously getting folks to their appointments. And so there's a lot of folks that are brought to their dialysis appointments, and we know that folks that need substance abuse treatment or mental health treatments may not have a valid driver's license to get where they're going. And obviously some of them would actually like to come to this meeting, and there'd be no public transportation way of getting here. We know that this country's suffering a loneliness epidemic, and I think transportation, public transportation, would be the way to get folks to see each other, get to family, get to church, get to activities, some of the things that are being built that folks can get to. We ran into folks that go to school and take carts to go to school. In our personal lives, we can tell what someone values by what they spend their time and money on, and as a county, we can tell from our budget. Our budget reflects our values, and I would hope that you guys would consider expanding carts, because I think that this program helps the very old, the very young, the poor, and the medically vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we'll have Pamela Criswell.
Good afternoon, evening, everyone. I'm Pamela Criswell. I reside at 2208 High Court in Creedmoor. And today I wanted to take an opportunity to speak to you guys about a topic, but I need to ask a question because I need to make sure that I'm in the right space. So I was informed that you guys would be voting on the tax increase for the county. So I just want to make sure that that's correct. Okay. Again, my name is Pamela Criswell, and I stand before you this evening acknowledging that I do have some ignorance as it relates to what's going on with our taxes. Normally, my calendar doesn't afford me opportunity to come to the meeting, so I'm not here very often. But tonight, fortunately, I was able to come out. I recently became aware that there is a vote on increases in our taxes and wanted to share my thoughts about why I'm opposed to an increase. One of my biggest reasons is many of us are still recovering from the pandemic, and now might not be the best time for an increase. Also, I'm not sure how a tax increase benefits me individually, and I don't know exactly what the increase will be used for. I also want to say that if it is absolutely necessary that this occurs, that the increase amount takes into consideration the percentage that does not impose a hardship on residents and especially homeowners. As a South Granville County resident, I'm concerned that the increase in taxes may not benefit my area. As such, I respectfully request that the board supply every resident within the county written information clearly outlining the use of the increased taxes. Please make sure that the verbiage is in lay terms so that all residents are able to understand. Thank you for your time and consideration for my concern.
Thank you for coming out this evening. Next, we'll have Robert Parunko.
Thank you. My name is Robert Parunko. I live at 4093 Range Road in STEM, and I come here tonight to address the taxes. With the grace of God, I will turn 82 next month, and this is the first time in my life I felt necessity to come and address any board of government. But I just couldn't stay home tonight and sit this one out. I don't have to tell anybody here about inflation. We are all hurt. I got reminded that today when I went grocery shopping with my wife and filled up my gas car on the way home. I know everything is more expensive. I don't have percentages on meat, groceries, or anything like that. But with the proposed budget that I've seen in the paper and the rate, my taxes will go up 50% this year. My taxes last year were approximately $2,400. With your proposed budget tonight, my taxes will be $3,600. That's a 50% increase. And I've just got to assume that everybody in Granville County will have a increase that much. And my question to you folks is, do you really think this is the proper time to be laying a burden like that on the people of Granville County? Thank you for your time.
Sorry, having a hard time deciphering someone's writing here. It looks like Michael May.
My name is Michael May. I live at 3075 Kennedy Mill Road. And I'm here to address you about the tax increase. It's a little different situation than the last person because I ran some numbers based on your proposed budget. And based on the revenue neutral rate versus the proposed rate totals, I came up with this a 19% tax increase, which I think is an egregious amount currently for 1 year for the average taxpayer. I ran the numbers for your reevaluation of my property, and it actually came up a little lower, 18.4%. That's a whole lot different than the 4% raise I got on my Social Security this year and the 0% raise I got on my retirement. As a person on a fixed income, I can tell you, I know land's going up, and I understand that, so I didn't fight my reevaluation because I didn't know you were going to try to go up 18%, 19% on the tax rate afterwards. So when I ran my numbers, it's going up over $500 a year for a house and 16 acres, which is a very small farm around here. I can't imagine what it's going up for somebody that farms a bunch of tobacco, has a couple hundred acres, who their land went up even more. I think that we need to evaluate wants versus needs, and I'm sure that I see the sheriff over here. I know he's got a lot of wants and he's got a lot of needs. But regular people like me, we have to look at our budget and say, I want the moon, but I can't afford it. What can I afford for my family? And that's what we all have to do every year, because we can't go to our boss and say, you're gonna give me 19% more. Because if you don't, I'm gonna take what you got. We can't do that, but that is what the county government can do. Y'all can just raise our taxes without our permission, and we either pay it or we lose our land. And I would like to end up by just reminding everybody on the board how this country was founded. In the late 1700s, there were a bunch of little colonies over here with a government a long ways away that didn't listen to the people and kept raising their taxes until they said, enough's enough. And that became the United States of America. And that's what y'all need to remember. You need to ask the citizens what they really want, the taxpayers that are having to pay this taxes. The people I've heard, nobody wants a 19% tax increase. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the work you do. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Dr. Warren Herndon.
Good evening, Commissioners. I rise tonight because I'm very concerned about education. And I know as county government and state government struggle to support our schools and support our students, that you have many decisions to make. But one of the things that I caution you and encourage you to think about, one day we all were sitting in the first, second, and third grade. And I got my start here in Granville County in the elementary school and middle school, and I had so many great teachers and principals and counselors that supported me and made sure that I grew up to be the great man that I am. So my job is to stand up and encourage you and our community to wrap our arms around our children, to make sure that we fund the best that we can, our teachers to fund the best that we can, any educational outcomes that make sure that our students grow up and come back to be contributing citizens in the great county of Granville. Now, before I take my seat, I know that there's probably a couple of stories I could tell you, but I'll leave you with this short story here. There's no one going to do anything for our students in Granville County but us. This is our time. This is our season. Let's rise to the occasion to support public schools. Let's rise to the occasion to support our parents, and let's rise to the occasion to support our teachers. Good night, and thank you for having this opportunity.
Before you leave the podium, sir, could you give us her name and address for the record?
Okay. Warren Herndon, 404 East E Street, Putnam, North Carolina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we've got Bishop James Daniels.
Good evening to the county commissioners. I wish I was as eloquent as all of the persons that have spoke and had some good things to say that you all could all rejoice. But I want to talk about G.C. Hawley School. I started there as a boy, and I graduated from Hawley, and now you're talking about changing hands from the Board of Education to the County Commissioner. I understand that's what is going on. I was really amazed that we were talking about changing the title or the deed from one person, one group to the other, in that we are all Granville County citizens, and we all belong to the same county, and we, the taxpayer, got to pay whichever group have the school, okay? And I understand there's some things got to be done to the school. I have no problem with that. The thing that I'm concerned about, though, is we can't get together as the Board of Education and the commissioners and work this thing out very smoothly. I know that the commissioner's talking about building a building down there, and I'm so glad of that because I live at 2571 Sam Moss Hayes Road. I've lived there most of my life, and I'm still right there in the area. But the thing that I'm concerned about is that we don't know what you all are planning to do. I don't know, and I live there. I'm 82 years old, and I don't know. And the people in the southern part of Granville County don't know. The school board tonight is voting on something about the school tonight. I guess you all will be voting on it a little later after I leave. But the thing that concerns me mostly, and I know my time is about up, is that number one, that area never be changed from G.C. Hawley High School or G.C. Hawley School. One thing. And if when you all build your building or whatever you're going to do there, make sure that there's room left and a sign that if Hawley be built again, that it can be built right there. One of the things that you all might want to take in consideration, I go to the senior citizen building every morning. That traffic, it's so bad and so dangerous that it ought not to be that all those schools up and down that road, you can't even get up and down it. Thank y'all for letting me say that, and please do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. That will end our public comment session for those who've signed up for this evening. And I just mashed the wrong button there. Next item we've got is the adoption of the fiscal year 2024-25 budget and budget ordinance. Okay, so this is to consider the approval of, again, the 24-25 budget ordinance, position classification and plan, and the fee manual. Okay, as stated in the General Statute 159-8 and 159-13, the governing board shall adopt a balanced budget ordinance by July 1st of the upcoming fiscal year. The board has completed the extensive review of the submitted fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget for Granville County, including work sessions, a public hearing, and general discussion. Attached is the official budget ordinance that includes the county health plan ordinance, the fee manual, the position classification, and the plan for fiscal year 24-25. So we have a recommendation that the board approve the fiscal year 24-25 budget ordinance for Granville County with the fee manual and the position classification and pay plan. Board, you've had an opportunity to study this at length as we've had numerous sessions and public input. I will leave it to the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we accept the budget and the fee schedule.
I second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Hinman, seconded by Commissioner Cozart, to accept the 2024-25 budget ordinance, Granville County fee manual, and position classification and plan. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, sir, I have some discussion. As I said at the end of the meeting last time, there were a lot of people here at the last meeting that asked for money for carts, for money for schools, for money for the law, for money for this, for money for that. But they all then turned around and said, please don't raise my taxes. What are we to do? You can't always do everything that we want to do. Believe me, I've scoured this budget over and over and over again to try to come up with one penny. I didn't make it. Our board, our staff did a fantastic job of their jobs whittling this down to what they could do to get us where we are. And unlike the city of Oxford, who is charging 25.3 cents per hundred, I think that was ridiculous without even thinking about that. So we have tried, and I think that we've done a very good job. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, I'm opposed to the budget proposal. Placing such a significant tax increase on residents further burdens taxpayers who are already struggling in this difficult economy. This burden will further be complicated by municipal tax increases, spiking home insurance rates, continuing inflation, unpredictable national economy. All the contributing factors which concerns residents is why I'm voting no on our proposed budgets. I'm not blind to the needs. They're there. They exist. And there are many. But I believe we should be cautious on how we, in today's environment, look at our wants and needs in this current financial environment. That's why I'm opposed.
I would just like to speak on a little bit on about COTS. COTS was set up under 4 counties, was 5. It started off with Person, Vance, Granville, Warren, and Franklin, with equal share in every kind of funding that was done. Person County dropped out, so it left Granville, Franklin, Warren, and Vance. And their budget every year is based on each county equal share. The $250,000 you're asking for, have you asked Vance, Warren, and Franklin? And what do they say? We meet the second Tuesday. We have public comments, and all the commissioners and their representatives on that meets at our regular meeting. At our last meeting, I asked about it. Y'all haven't showed up at neither one of those, Advance, Franklin, and Warren about it. So, cause whatever had to be done, is the $250,000 you asked for here, you need to ask for that $250,000 in the other 3 remaining counties. The board was set up to make sure our elders in our communities will have transportation to their doctors, to meet their doctor's appointments, our dialysis, so they'll meet their appointments. Then if you have we make sure that if you have a doctor's appointment, you have to call, you can't call Tuesday, try to go to the doctor Wednesday, because you know your doctor appointment is next Wednesday, but you can call this Wednesday and let them know so we can put you on schedule. We try not miss anyone missing their doctor's appointment, because we know how important that is. We try to make sure that you get to everyone get to that doctor's appointment, everyone get to that dialysis center. Then we try to make sure if you call in and have to be to work at 7 o'clock, we have someone there to pick you up. But you can't call one day for the next day. You have to get on our rotation schedule so we can put you on so you can go. We try not to miss anyone. And if we have missed anyone, please let us know so we can work on it. Our employees, our drivers, yes. If we could pay them $20 an hour, we'll pay them $20 an hour, but we can't. Because our fundings come through federal, state, and local. And local is divided up between 4 counties. So what you ask for Grandma, you need to ask for all the other 3 counties to make sure they get the same thing, because we are set up on a 4-county system. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. I believe in the earlier conversation today, County Manager, am I correct in saying that there hasn't been a county tax increase in how many years?
8 years.
8 years. We've managed to get by for 8 years without a tax increase. That's kind of phenomenal. And I'm someone that's fundamentally opposed to tax increases. And, but I also realize that position is not realistic. You go to the grocery stores, you see the increase in food prices, you see the increase in your daily prices. Our employees experience those increases. We've had to increase salaries to help cover those increases, to help them help themselves. We've had to increase salaries and benefits to help with recruitment for county employees. And we've finally gotten to the point that our roles are beginning to fill up. We're not at 100%, but you're never expected to be at 100%. And it's just, you know, we just have to, sometimes we have to vote for things that we're fundamentally opposed to. We're elected by, each one of us is elected by a district, and we're elected to represent or advocate for that district, but we're also elected to look out for the entire county. And we've explored homestead exemptions for taxes. We found out that that's impossible. That has to be done through the state legislature. A tactic that we're working on now is the exemptions that are already in place for low-income people, for people on disability, for veterans, those numbers have not been looked at in a good many years. And we're planning to work with the North Carolina Association of Counties to have a unified voice with the legislature to ask the legislature to go back and revisit these numbers and adjust them for, at least adjust them for inflation since they were first put in. And I don't know what year these numbers were done, but based on the income levels, it's a good many years ago. So we feel everybody's pain. When we vote for a tax increase, we're increasing our own taxes. I'm going to, on top of the increase with the county, I live in Butner. I'm facing a 48% increase. And as Sue stated, people in Oxford, they're going to experience what appears to be a 66% increase in their city taxes. So we're just, you can't always do what you want to do. You can't always vote the way you want to vote. You have to vote what's best for the entire county, what's best for all of us. And I know people disagree with that statement on the basis of they don't feel like they're getting the services that they're paying for. And I can agree with that. First thing my wife said when I talked about the tax increase at the county and the tax increase in the town we live in, what new services are we going to get? What's going to change? What's going to improve? And also, I'd like to address the Bishop Daniels about the Hawley property. One of the first things we discussed when we discussed the possibility of getting the G.C. Hawley property was to make sure that the G.C. Hawley name was attached to that property and it would live on as long as it was under the control of the county. And that's, I have to vote in favor of the budget. Not that I want to, but it's the responsible thing to do, unfortunately. Thank you.
Before I call for the question, I just want to mention a couple of brief things. This board employs 3 people: the clerk, the attorney, and the county manager. The county manager has people that work for him that are below the poverty level, that qualify for federal assistance, that are full-time employees of this county. So while I say that, as a 10,000-foot level of this budget, general government is $7.8 million. Human Services is $19.7 million. Community services, such as library, cooperative extension, recreation, development services is $7.5 million. Educating our citizens is $26.7 million. Public safety and protecting our citizens is $17.8 million. Other appropriations, non-departmental funds, pass-throughs, and fleet management is $5.1 million. Contributions to other funds, such as the TDA and transfers for capital improvement, is $2 million. With the grand total of $87,226,113. You'll notice educating our citizens at $26.7 million and protecting our citizens at $17.8 million. It's a lot of money to educate our citizens. And when I say educate our citizens, that's the 4 through 18-year-olds. So with that said, I'll call for the question on this budget. All those in favor of the budget ordinance and prescribed, vote by signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Which one? All right, our next item is a approved special budget amendment for funding of the annual allocation to ACIM. And I understand, Ms. Hinman, you're going to recuse yourself on this item. So North Carolina General Statute 14-234.3 prohibits any local government board member holding certain positions for nonprofit organizations from voting, as I just mentioned, and Ms. Hinman will recuse herself on such an amendment. In our budget, there is a donation to our area ministries and congregation, which is our food bank, so to speak. And thank God that a non-for-profit stepped up to take care of that mission for our citizens. So, Ward, you've got the information before you, and there is a recommendation for approval of this special budget amendment.
Mr. Chairman, may I just raise one question, if I'm in order? The service there at ACIM, so crucial for so many of our citizens. So last year, we had some additional funds, I think, and this year, the recommended amount is 25,000. Is that, we had 40, was it 40 last year? 50 last year?
Yes.
I surely, people I run into all the time, that's kind of their lifeline. And I don't know, I just wish there was a way that we could do a little bit more with them, maybe up to 40,000. That would be just a thought, to try and see if we can keep those people. What really hurts there, so many of our senior citizens who go really struggle to get enough to make it from week to week. So I just want to throw that out for consideration, maybe to 40,000 for ACIM.
I don't think there would be anything that would prohibit us from coming back at a later date, but I think since we're going through the budget ordinance at this time, I think it would be cleaner to go ahead and approve as recommended, and then we can revisit it at a later time.
Well, I move for approval then, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second the 25,000.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Williford, to approve the appropriation to ACIM at the amount of 25,000. Any
Is the
questions on
amount
motion?
25,000 is? That was the original amount, correct? That was in the budget?
Yes. Any other questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Our next item is to approve a special budget amendment for the funding for the annual allocation for Smart Start. And again, the North Carolina General Statute prohibits a local government board member who holds certain positions for nonprofit organizations from voting. And Dr. Tony Cozart is the executive director, so he'll be recused from voting on this amendment. And the finance director recommends approval of the special budget amendment for funding of the annual allocation for Smart Start.
I'll make that motion, sir.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Hidman, seconded by Commissioner Gooch. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right. Our next item is to approve the contract for Davenport Financial Consulting Services. Davenport has provided valuable assistance to Granville County in evaluating financial opportunities and securing debt placement and capital projects. For this fiscal year, they have also been instrumental in helping develop our first ever 10-year CIP, Capital Improvement Plan, that gives the county a blueprint for capital project scheduling and associated financing. Granville County has had a long-standing relationship with Davenport Financial Consulting Services since 2013 and has operated under their contractual agreement that has been in place since 2018. The administrative department believes it would be appropriate to update the contract. The proposed contract for a 3-year contract with a 2-year extension option is structured as such. Transactional services for debt financing, bond placements, based on the type of bond and the placement, ranging from $30,000 to $90,000. Non-transactional services, advisory and consulting. Option 1 is an hourly from $250 to $300 an hour, and option 2 is an annual fee of $35,000. The county is recommending that we go with option 1, which is the hourly, should we need that service. The transactional debt service financing service expenditures will be included in the budget capital project expenditure line item. For non-traditional services, it would be budgeted through the finance professional services. We have a recommendation from our finance director and the county manager to approve the contractual agreement with option 1 pricing for non-transactional services with Davenport.
Motion in order, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, I just asked that you make that subject to a review by the county attorney's office.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the recommendation from our finance director and county manager. Arrangement with option 1, following attorney review. Okay.
Excuse me, I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Wolfert, to approve the recommendation with attorney review. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Thanks, Steve. I did all your work for you on that one. And the motion carries on that. We're ripping through here, aren't we? All right, we have Stacy Hicks come forward.
Excuse me, Chair. I don't know
Yes.
if you want to leave down home. I plan on making some comments when I have an opportunity at the end of the meeting.
We'll still have reps here.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Just
You're
thought
fine.
I'd let them know.
Good evening, Ms. Hicks.
Good evening, Chair Cran, Board. The purpose of this item is the approval of the renewal of the prorated fiscal year 2024 and the fiscal year 2025 maintenance agreement with Southern Software. The Emergency Communications Center has previously obtained various software and hardware license from Southern Software, which are essential components of the county's emergency communication system. Currently, Southern Software provides support and maintenance services for the license through several support agreements, each with a separate renewal schedule. To enhance the operational efficiency, the county and Southern Software have agreed to consolidate those support agreements so they align with the county's fiscal year. This consolidation involves prorating the current support agreements to end June 30th, 2024, and to extend them to cover the subsequent fiscal year. Southern Software has been a reliable partner, offering consistent and high-quality maintenance services. Approving this renewal will allow Granville County to continue maintaining its critical emergency communication infrastructure, supporting the ongoing public safety and operational needs. To align with fiscal year funding, the total prorated amounts are $8,908 for fiscal year 2024 and $45,544 for fiscal year 2025. The full breakdown is in your agenda packet. For the 7 different support agreements, we have been using these since 2008. Funding is available in the Emergency Telephone System Fund for both fiscal year 24 and for fiscal year 25. This recommendation is for the approval of the maintenance contract from Southern Software. Again, those amounts are $8,908 and for fiscal year 24 budget and $45,544 from fiscal year 25 budget. I further recommend the authorizing of the county manager to execute the contract once finalized by the county attorney. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, are there any questions?
Hello, Ms. Hicks.
Hi.
So this is going to be funded by the telephone system?
That's correct, fully.
Right, so it's not really coming out of our
It is not.
existing? Okay, so it's, and it's critical.
Yes, sir.
And is this something we renew after renew annually?
That is correct. And this is just to get us on the schedule of having that $8,000 be for the 2024, and then all of them. Previously, they had been coming due at different times throughout the year, so this is just going to put them all coming due at the same time under one agreement.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, you have the recommendation before you. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we approve.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Hinman, to approve the recommendation following attorney review. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and next item that we've got is appointments, and our first up is Animal Control Advisory Committee. And the purpose of this item is to make an appointment to the Animal Control Advisory. And okay, we've got the term of Jennifer Kerr in District 2, Andrea Westcott, appointed by District 4, and Angela Gooch, District 6, have expired. They are all eligible for reappointment and willingness to serve.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reappoint Jennifer Curran.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second motion by Commissioner Williford, seconded by Commissioner Jay, to reappoint Jennifer Curran to the Animal Control Advisory Board. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And next, we'll have District 4.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to reappoint Andrea Westcott.
I'll second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Williford, to reappoint Andrea Westcott to the Animal Control Advisory Board. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Mr. Vice Chairman, will you handle this one?
Yes, the environmental affairs. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the term for District 6 has expired and is vacant at the time. Do we have a nomination?
I'd like to reappoint Angela Gooch, no relation.
We have a motion to appoint Angela Gooch. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
And I'm turning it back over to our chair.
Thanks. All right. Our next item is the Granville County Citizens Advisory on Environmental Affairs. And this is to make an appointment and/or reappointments to the Granville County Citizens Advisory Committee for Environmental Affairs. The term of Steve Timberlake, District 2, expired. Chad McHenry, District 4, and Blaine Holmes, District 5, have resigned. So we'll start with District 2.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Timberlake has reached his allotted number of terms, but I would like to appoint David Hinton to the Environmental Affairs Board for District 2, please.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Williford, seconded by Commissioner Cozart, to appoint David Hinton to fill that seat on the Environmental Affairs Committee. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Next, we've got District 4.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm still looking if I could hold an appointment for District 4 tonight.
We will hold the District 4 appointment. District 5?
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to appoint Randy Green for District 5.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Williford, to appoint Randy Green to the Citizens Advisory Committee for Environmental Affairs. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, next, we've got the Veterans Affairs Committee. This is to make an appointment or reappointment to the Veterans Affairs Committee. The term of Ronnie Boyd, District 2, Harriet Morton, District 4, and Alan Strickland, District 6 expire. What's the pleasure of District?
Mr. Chairman, before you continue, I had a gentleman this evening call and ask if I had somebody that would be available, and I do not. So I just wanted to let everybody else know that I do have a gentleman that is available for Veterans Affairs.
Okay. Do we have anybody for District 2?
Yes, sir. I'd like to reappoint the term of Ronnie Boyd. Ronnie's been a great asset to that committee, and I'd like to reappoint him from District 2.
Second motion.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Williford, seconded by Commissioner Cozart to reappoint Ronnie Boyd. Are there any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. District 4?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move for the reappointment of Harriet Morton.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Jay to reappoint Harriet Morton, District 4, to serve on the Environmental Affairs Committee. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay. District 6, Alan Strickland has expired. District 6, do we have a nomination?
I'd like to reappoint Mr. Alan Strickland from District 6.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Turn it back over to the
And we also have one that is not in the agenda this evening. We have a vacancy on the Planning Board, and District 7 has a nomination.
Yes, we've had a vacancy for District 7 on the Planning Board for some time now, and Mr. William Lyon has agreed to fill that position, and I would like to appoint him to the Planning Board tonight.
Motion.
Motion to appoint William Lyon to the Planning Board.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Gooch, seconded by Commissioner May, to appoint William Lyon to the Planning Board. Are there any questions on that motion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lyon.
Thank you.
Drew, are you going to take this section?
Yes, sir. So a couple of weeks ago, the superintendent got in touch with 6 resolutions that the Board of Education here had passed and was submitting to the state legislature for their consideration. These resolutions had to do with increased support for school safety, for ESL and exceptional children, testing improvements, and some loosening some restrictions of the state retirement system that prevent retired teachers from coming back and helping out in the schools, which is a service that we dearly need. And so these were sent out to commissioners, and no objections were heard. And so in support of our Board of Education, these 6 resolutions are brought before the board tonight for consideration.
Okay, Commissioners, you have had an opportunity to read these resolutions, and they've been put with the whereases from Granville County Board of Commissioners to our legislatures, and we could take them all together, or we can take them individually. What's the pleasure of the board on that? Are we in agreement that they're all worthy of a slate of an endorsement?
I definitely do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to such.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 6 public education resolutions and forward it to our state legislators coming from our Board of Education.
I'll second that, sir.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Hinman, to put forth 6 public education resolutions at the request of the Granville County Public Schools and send them on to our state legislators. Any questions?
Yes, sir. Madam, Mr. Chair, I'd like if we could put together a document for the NCACC, for their steering committee on education, that these would go to them, particularly, one particularly for me is page 185, exceptional children, where it's funded based not on the actual need, but a percentage. And as you understand, in Granville County, we have far more children who have exceptional needs than what we're being funded for. Again, in my view, another unfunded mandated from the legislature that we need to address. So,
Okay, so I accidentally mashed the cutoff button on your mic, so I apologize for that. But I wholeheartedly support your exceptional children request, that, along with the sending it all to the legislator. And also, it's very timely. There was a piece on the news yesterday speaking to this very point, that the school system receives no more funding for exceptional children, even though that the amount of effort and specialty requirements to care for those children while they're in our schools is much greater than the standard child. So,
and Mr. Chair, that funnels down to local tax dollars to make up the difference. And then the language skills that's also discussed in here, that's another funding that then impacts the local taxpayer because it's not being funded at the level from the state legislature. So there are a lot of things the county ends up having to pass on to its local taxpayer that, in my view, should be remedied at the state level.
Do we need to make a motion on that, Mr. Chairman, or is that, how do we need to?
so I believe that we can add it to, if it's okay with the people who made the original motion.
I'm satisfied with that, Mr. Chairman, to have that in the motion.
Great. So you've heard the additions to the motion. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And forgive me, I'm still getting used to the mics and I see the lights on, so I try to cut folks off when they do, and be cognizant, because that tracks the video cameras to whose mic is hot. So it's a learning curve. We're trying. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Second item, which was being worked on steadily over the weekend and being walked in this evening, is approval of the agreement for conveyance of real property and interlocal agreement regarding the use of real property, which is a legal way of saying the county is acquiring the former G.C. Hawley school property from the school board. I can note that the Board of Education voted 5-2 this evening to approve that same agreement that the county attorney and the school's attorney have been working on steadily, and we appreciate their work on that. And I also would like to take this opportunity before I turn the mic over to the county attorney, not so much tonight, but at the last meeting, we heard a lot of kind of objection to the idea that there was really no consideration for the transfer of the property. And I want to emphasize for the audience and board members and anyone else who cares about that question that between the avoided cost for the schools of asbestos abatement and demolition, the avoided cost of regular maintenance of the site, and also the substantial increase in capital outlay for the maintenance of the remaining and active Granville County Public Schools, there's a great deal of consideration included in our this next year's budget and future budgets in consideration of that transfer. So with that, I will hand the floor to the county attorney to briefly walk you through the details of the agreement that was put at your places this evening.
Thank you. So the agreement goes through the recitals of some of the background for the transaction, including some of the reasons why the school system wishes to transfer the property to the county. For example, the board is unable to use the property for a school in its current condition due to deterioration and the need for repairs and renovation that exceed available funds. That the board is informed that demolition of the current structures on the property could cost between $1 million and $1.5 million, including the cost of asbestos abatement. Then recites that the county has agreed to increase appropriations to the board. I'll get into that more later. Further recites that the board currently expends in excess of $150,000 per year to maintain the property. And so as part of this transaction, the board, our board agrees as follows. The property is to be conveyed by the board to the Granville County Board of Commissioners for the benefits identified in the intended use. And just to go over that, the intended use of the property is as a park for recreational purposes, in which Granville County Schools will have preferential use and will subject to reasonable scheduling and use requirements. The county also agrees, and did so in its budget adopted tonight, to appropriate $2,750,000 to the board in capital outlays for fiscal year 24-25, which represents an increase of approximately 75% over the capital outlay appropriation for the fiscal year 2023-2024. In addition, the county manager shall include in his recommended budget for 2025 and 2026 and 2026 and 2027 a recommended appropriation by the board of at least $3,250,000 for each of those 2 years. Please keep in mind that this board cannot bind future boards, so that is the county manager's recommendation for a future board to determine to handle how they see fit at that time. Paragraph 4 says the county shall begin demolition of the structures on the property within 2 years of the date of recording the deed to the property, and shall begin construction of athletic facilities on the property within 5 years. Paragraph 5 says that the property will thenceforth be known as the G.C. Hawley Athletic Park or some similar name incorporating the name G.C. Hawley, and shall honor his legacy through historical artifacts and information displayed on the property. Should the county fail to meet its obligations under paragraphs 2, 3, 4, and 5 of this agreement, the board shall have the option to reacquire the property at no cost to the board pursuant to the option described in paragraph 11 after the parties have worked together in good faith to examine and resolve the county's implementation efforts as described in paragraph 11. I'll get to that in more detail later. The county has a 60-day due diligence period to examine the property to make sure that there are no environmental or other problems that would make it impractical for the county to take over the property. Sometimes when you transfer title to property, liability can attach, and we need to make sure that there's no issue there that would be significantly detrimental. The school system is is transferring the property, of course, as is. The county's assuming, subject, once we finish due diligence and take title, would be assuming all responsibilities related to the property. The option to reacquire the property is down in paragraph 11. It says, should the county fail to meet its obligations under paragraphs 2, 3, 4, and 5 of this agreement, the board may provide written notice of default to the county of its failure to meet its said obligations, and such notice from the board shall trigger a 6-month period, during which time the party shall engage in good faith efforts, including mediation if informal talks fail, after which the board shall have the option to reacquire the property. And that option to reacquire is subordinated to the county's right to mortgage the property under 168-20, or to also secure grant funding that would be secured by a recordable instrument to further develop the property. Because of that subordination requirement, in other words, and let me just explain that for a minute, if the county gets a loan on the property and uses the property as collateral to secure that loan under 168-20, of course, that would in some ways impair the school system's ability to take the property back, because that loan would have to be dealt with. And as I explained to, at least my position on that is, the school board attorney and I discussed it this afternoon, is, again, I don't think we can bind a future board to pay off that loan just because the Board of Education is exercising its rights to take it back. So what we agreed on there, should the board's option be subordinated as described in paragraph 11C, the Board of Education, as an alternative to exercising its option, may enforce the county's obligations in paragraphs 2, 3, 4, and 5 through an action for specific performance and/or injunctive relief filed with the Superior Court in Granville County. So in the event that they find it impractical to take the property back if we violate the agreement, they could go to the court and seek to have the county required to meet its obligations under the agreement. So I think you all will see, and the public will see, that this is an agreement that certainly achieves the goal of providing a recreational facility for use by the citizens with preferential use to the school system, and has specific requirements on the county's performance here, so that both the legacy of G.C. Hawley will be maintained and the school system can be assured that it gets value out of the transaction to support the transfer. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I'm kind of, item 11 is a lot there, and so somehow or another down the road, we're unable to meet the capital outlay for whatever reason. Does that put it in jeopardy? I mean,
The only capital outlay that is a legal requirement here, well, there are two things that are a legal requirement. One that you've met tonight by appropriating $2,750,000, and the other one is the county manager must include in his recommended budget. He must recommend it, but you don't have to vote to approve it. So,
Okay, so-
again, nothing that we do here tonight can bind a future board to appropriate any money, in my opinion.
That was where I was going with it, because we can't predict the future.
You can't predict the future, and you can't tie the hands of those who come after you to enact a tax increase to support this.
Thank you.
Any other? I can talk loud enough without it, but any other questions?
Okay. Well, board, you've got an agreement that was approved by the school board with a 5-2 vote, transferring the asset of the G.C. Hawley School. And then what I've talked about before would be become a premier recreational facility in the southern end of Granville County, and honoring G.C. Hawley and his work in educating the folks of our citizenry.
It'll also reduce, will it not, County Manager and Mr. Chair, to reduce operating cost of the Granville County Public Schools?
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure that that's clearly defined, that's reducing the cost to gain a facility. So thank you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the agreement before you. Is there a motion to approve the agreement?
Sir, I'll make that motion to approve the agreement.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hinman, seconded by Commissioner Cozart, to approve the agreement for conveyance of real property with an interlocal agreement regarding use of real property. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Thank you very much. We're unanimous. Appreciate that. Any other matters, County Manager?
I just wanted to briefly thank the board for their sustained and focused engagement during the budget process, and also for the months of work that we have put in together on the soon-to-be adopted capital improvement plan. I know that it's not easy to juggle the short and long-term needs of the community and of this organization, neither of which can be achieved without the other. That's a tough job, and it's a much more complicated task than most people understand, I think, and really only the sustained effort and attention of dozens of staff and the 7 of you make that happen. So again, thank you for all the effort that you put in to this budget that was approved tonight. I appreciate it.
All right. County Attorney, do you have anything for this evening?
I have one matter for executive session for attorney-client privilege.
Okay, we'll take that at the end. Okay, presentations by board members. We're going to start with Commissioner May, District 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to address the folks with down home. Granville County is 532 square miles. I don't know of any rural county in the state of North Carolina that has a mass transit center system that reaches all 532 square miles of the county. We're a rural county, and we have some city hubs. The major hub in Oxford for carts is paid for by a federal grant, not local taxpayer money. It's a cooperative effort to help our elderly, to help those in need of dialysis and things of the nature that Mr. Z talked about tonight. But it costs, and people have to pay for it. And a lot of the burden that gets bared is by our middle-class folks. And so I think when we look at these things, it's really important that we do everything we can for every citizen that we can. But we got to be pragmatic and reasonable about what we can and can't do. And so we have worked with CARTS and continue to work with CARTS to try to get grants to pay for enhanced services before you ever became involved. And so we'll continue to do that. But this commissioner is not willing to place any further burdens on the taxpayers based upon your request. Doesn't minimize anything that anyone wants. We all want something, but we can't get everything we want, and we clearly don't achieve everything we need. And so at the end of the day is that, this commissioner here will continue to work as we started over a year ago, working with CARTS and the county manager on identifying grants and means to be able to promote that. Those are grants and means that do not come from local taxpayer dollars. And that's all. And I just want to make sure you understand that the position of this commissioner. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes, I just want to kind of clarify, when I said there had been no tax increase in 8 years, the tax rate's been at 84 cents per hundred for the last 8 years. Is that correct, County Manager?
That's correct.
Okay. We had a reevaluation in 2018. I don't remember, I wasn't on the board then, so I don't remember if it was revenue neutral or we had to keep the tax rate at, if the tax rate's 84 cents, it hadn't changed, so whatever that reevaluation was, it remained at 84 cents. So technically, we did have a tax increase with the reevaluation in 2018.
That's a good point. I had neglected, and I wasn't here, but there was a reval in 2018, so it would be at least 6 years.
Right.
That the
So
tax
it's been
rate
6 years.
was flat. Thank you for clarifying.
I just wanted, I thought about it later, and I wanted to make sure that my remarks were not misinterpreted, or I didn't make my remarks clear enough. But unfortunately, tax increases usually fall on those that can least afford them. And I want to encourage all of us, all of our commissioners to join together, band together, and work with the North Carolina Association of Counties so we can hopefully have 100 counties behind us to revisit the exemptions. I think currently at $36,000 per year, $36,700 per year income, your taxes can be only 4% of your income. At $50,500, I believe it is, it can only be 5% of your income. And after that, it's full value. And I just feel like those numbers need to be increased so more people qualify. And my intention, we've discussed it among ourselves, and we've run into roadblocks where we can't do anything. We have to have the state legislature by going through the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. Hopefully we can get traction at the state legislature to have this addressed and hopefully get some relief for our citizens. Thank you.
All right, that'll take us to Commissioner Zelotes Che.
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Rob Williford.
This is my second year on the board and working with the budget, and I too struggled, but I will say this, it's been 6 years with no increase. It's hard to go that long without a few pennies here and there. We're competing, whether you like it or not, with Wake County, Durham County, Franklin County for employees. People will drive 40, 50 miles for $20,000, $25,000 a year. The same time, the reevaluation came, and that was mandated by the state. We had no choice in that. And yes, property values increased. So we got a double whammy, if you want to call it that. And yes, we looked hard, and I respect Commissioner May's stance. I too felt bad, but it had to be done. It's not a frivolous budget. We've looked hard. I've looked. I've spent hours, and there's nowhere to cut. We'd have to cut it on the backs of employees or services that just could not be cut, in my opinion, in this commissioner's opinion. I give the staff credit. They spent hours working on this, county manager, deputy county manager, and their staffs, finance director. I think it's a good budget. I think it's a fair budget. So that's what I have to say tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next, we've got Commissioner Hinman.
Thank you, sir. You're right. It was a very, 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 very hard budget. I've been on this board for 8 years, and I do not remember a tax increase for the 8 years I've been here. But I also do not remember our employees getting more than a 1, 2, possibly a 3% increase in their wages. And for 8 years, we cannot keep doing that and losing our employees the way we have and having to turn around and retrain and retrain and retrain just to send them to another county that can pay them more. And that's exactly what we've been doing. Look at the sheriff's office, look at social services, both of them. We've paid enormous amounts of money to train people for them to turn around, and as soon as they get in, they're gone because they can get more money from other counties. We have got to take care of them. There was a huge amount of employees that are on food stamps. Employees for the county on food stamps. That should never, ever be allowed. We should at least be able to feed ourselves, the ones that are being employed by the county. And unfortunately, that meant raising our taxes. And I didn't feel good about it at all. It hurts. But it also hurts to tell an employee, I'm sorry, I can't give you any more money. You'll just have to be working and go get your food stamps. That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Cozart.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And again, I just want to say thank you to the staff for the openness, the time we had to discuss this budget, and I really would like to describe it as a very responsible budget. because not to approve this budget, I think we will be setting ourselves up for situations that won't be good for Granville County. So I'm very grateful for that. I also just want to say that, and I know next week, pretty soon, we'll be having some formal time with Ms. Deborah, but as I looked over to my right tonight and just thought about all of her many contributions and the confidence that people have had in her, as we've dealt with so much over the years, the thing has become, if Ms. Weir said it's okay and the way she's treated people, people would leave her office or off a phone call with her, feeling so much better about the county. So, Ms. Deborah, it's been such a pleasure, and I just look forward to us having some more time to talk about your contributions to Granville County. And Ms. Karen, I tell you, you had a support system here tonight that wouldn't wait. I saw your pastor out there. I saw your dad. For those who don't know, this really is a family of service to this county. Her dad taught, I know, down at Wilton School as well as Hawley, I think, taught school down there, and it seems like everybody in the family has served in some role of service here in Granville County. So welcome and look forward to your service as well. I would just like to say to all of you that as we look forward to the graduations, I have one special honor this year, and that is to go back down to Warren County Middle School and do the graduation speech. Really looking forward to it, to talk to those kids and inspire them a little bit. But serving on this board sometimes has days that, you know, we do things that hurt, and I want the people to know we listen to you. We listened to you the last 8 years, and even though we didn't raise taxes, we know that we were at some point going to have to do it, and this just happened to be the year that we just had to do it for the good of the county. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, all commissioners. I mentioned it a little bit ago about who this board employs: the clerk, the manager, and the attorney. Okay. There you go. When I hear citizens say, such and such staff member works for me, I pay taxes, they work for me, it really infuriates me. They don't work for you. They work for the county manager. We work for you. We're not punching bags either, because trust me, people have learned really quickly that I punch back. So if you've got an unkind thing to say to our staff, save it for something else. I see people all the time in fast food restaurants belittling a teenager who's working there, or at the Walmart, of a retiree who's trying to make ends meet. And people think that they're entitled because they're shopping at that store, that the employees there all should bend to what they want to do, and half of the time the person there is wrong. So if you have a problem with a county employee, you come to your commissioner, you go to the county manager. You don't belittle or berate that county employee. And I know that nobody in this room would ever do that. Is that correct? And if you did, maybe you should owe somebody an apology. So let's think about who works for who and who's here to serve. Our folks serve the citizens of Granville County. They work for the county manager. If you've got a problem, that's where the buck stops. It's where the buck stops for us. We don't go out to our county employees and tell them, I'm a commissioner, I want you to do this or that. We go to the county manager. And I wouldn't expect the citizens to do that either. So enough chastising. These folks got to get up at, be on the clock at 8:30 in the morning here. So it is the season for celebrations with graduations, and we just honored those who never got to come home from conflict that don a uniform for our nation. It's tenuous times out there. So let's be safe. Let's be careful. Let's try and love each other. Thank you very much. We have a need for an executive session for attorney-client privilege. Can we have a motion? Oh, we're going to take a 5-minute bio break. But
I was
first,
going to make that motion if we could have a 5-minute bio break.
let's have
Thank
a
you.
motion to go in executive session following a 5-minute bio break.
So moved.
Do we have a motion?
I made that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to go into executive session. All right,
Holly.
here we go.
I mean, it depends on what we do there.
But I mean, just like if you did replicate the gap, basically. So it's not big enough.